Okay, this is how a chromatograph works, and this is specifically relating to testing for cannabinoids in cannabis extracts. So this is what we're looking at. So this is a Shimatsu, and the idea here is that you shine a light on something, wavelengths are reflected back, and you can use those as a fingerprint to identify a compound. So right now it's running. I'm doing a purge actually. And so we start off with a sample. And this is a sample I have. It's butane extraction by the name of diamonds. That is the crystals. And so we that's the Queen's we in this case, using a $6,000 scale and a centrifuge tube and the magenta box in there. I weigh out 0.25 grams, and I'm going to dissolve that into 25 milliliters of methanol, and the methanol and any compound associated with this process is ultra purified and expensive, and so it's specifically for this purpose. And so what I do is put the crystals into that tube, and I'll take two little flasks here and fill them up with about 20 milliliters of methanol, each one of them. And this one is designated 1 in 10,000 parts, and the other one, which is over here, and that's not really material to what I'm doing, that's 1 part in 10, so, or not 1 part in 100. So, and again, 20 milliliters. And so I fill that up as a measuring situation, and then I pour it into the centrifuge tube, and that'll dissolve the, in this case, diamonds. I usually use, I'm usually working with butter and stuff like that. And so that dissolves the compound. Actually, it's a collection of cannabinoids, and at that point I put it back into this flask, and I will level it off. You know, the base of the meniscus goes right above the line there, and there's my little kit. And so when something is really residuey, I use these. And here's my some methanol. Then I wash things in there, and there's my little 1 milliliter pipettes that are nice and clean. And so at that, once that dilution is done, so 0.25 grams into 25 milliliters is 1 part to 100. Then I remove 1 milliliter and I put it into this, and that's 1 part in 10,000. Then I mean that's shook up long before I do that, and then it's put in here, it's leveled off, and I take that and I put it into this. And so labeled, there's the top. It's filtered, so we remove any residue, because we do not want any of that into, there's the filter, we don't want any of that in the machine. So anyway, at that point, the little vial is put into, there's the vial, sorry, put into the machine right there, and you have to designate what vial number it is. So, is it the first one? Is it the second one? Third one? I keep a methanol blank in the first slot so I can run a methanol blank. And if there's any residue in the machine, then that'll show up on the chromatograph as it's displayed. So anyway, see if we not upset the machine. But anyway, the light is up here. And so the vial goes here. A needle goes down into the vial and then pulls the liquid into it, and then it is sent through these pumps down here and through here, and then it comes out and goes through the column, and the column is the expensive part of this machine. And so it's a bunch of resin beads, and it basically the smaller molecules will move through quickly, and the larger molecules will stay back a little bit. This is specifically designed for this process and these chemicals. So a different column would be used for different chemicals. So anyway, and there's even a little pre-filter right here, so even after you filter it with a syringe and whatnot, there's still a little pre-filter here. And so you want the molecules to go more or less through the machine single file, let's say. So the smaller ones will go through quickly, and bigger ones will go through slower. And then they go through here, and then through the light. And at that point, I'm going to put this back here. And then it'll come out being read here. So the key points here are the flow rate, and again, this is being purged, so this is not normal. But anyway, it's got the oven here, and then set at 50. Let's see if this works. And this is what'll come up after about 8 minutes. So again, cannabinoids. And so the blue line here, that's the pump pressure as labeled. And so it starts off fairly high and it drops. And so the smaller molecules here are the CBDV, CBGA, and delta 9 THC, and then just delta 9 or THCA. So molecular weight and all that are relating to this. And then it shows up here as a percentage. There's quite a bit of debate. I feel like I should be able to read it off the machine, and what I do is here's the total right here, and I do a division. So, and the thing is, we actually use one other lab, and I don't know how they, get the results they get. But there are two other labs we've run samples through, and one of them does exactly what I do. The results from my sample are the results of their sample, and then there's one that's like 5% higher. I'm generally 6% higher than the lab we normally send things to. So this is all in-house testing to make sure we're on track. But anyway, if something to consider here is when you run a known sample, which is not a cheap thing in any way, there's 10% each cannabinoids in the sample. So you end up with the arrangement like this, but it'll be 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%. So I'm within less than 1% of the known sample, so it is accurate. and within 1% is considered the margin of error. So I don't know if I could be any better than that, but questions are involved. So, and I don't really expect a lot of people to be watching this, but I appreciate any feedback regarding how to manage this. So, because I'm fairly new to this, but anyway, it's rather interesting. So, but anyway, this can be used, modified for any number of purposes, and I should probably say something about the solvents here. So we have a couple of solvents that run the machine and go through the machine, and there are different concentrations that are used at different parts of the process. And these are, again, ultra purified, and they have to be, I have to fill them up. So this is going to take up a bunch of this. I want to say acetyl nitrate is the main solvent here. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Fa is formic acid for from a preservation standpoint. Acetyl nitrate. I'm missing a syllable there. It turns into a toxic compound when you ingest it, but this is one of the solvents found in nail polish. So, but anyway, and what I do typically is at least once a week, if it's not being used, I'll run a purge or some rinsing. The rinse, the purge, and then there's the auto purge, which is running right now, is just to make sure everything's nice and clean. So I'll find often CBG or CBC on the needle, and so after I do the purge and all that, I'll run the blank, and that's pure methanol. And it should be zeroed all the way through the list there, and then we know we're clean. But anyway, what else? So that's the basics of the machine. Again, not an expert. I just thought this would be an interesting video, and like that. So anyway, there you go.